Hello everyone and welcome to another high-low game of Age of Empires. Today, one of the game's coolest cavalry archers takes on one of the game's coolest cavalry units as Mr. Yo, playing as the Koreans in blue, prepares to take on the Viper, playing as the Gurjaras in yellow. Now, all the players heard their herdables explore their immediate, very desolate surroundings because we find ourselves on Sandrift today, a map we'll take a look at in a second, and try to go to Castle Age ASAP because we're back in Empire Wars mode today. Not a bad time for us to take a look at the Civ matchup that we are going to be watching today. Now, the Koreans are a civilization that loves to kill you from afar. Their Mangonel line units, whose minimum range is already reduced from 3 to 1, can be upgraded to get a massive 10 range. Their towers, which upgrade automatically for free, can be upgraded to get +2 extra range, and all of their warships, infantry, and archer units cost less wood, and they get all archer armor upgrades free of charge, both of which benefit their unique unit, the War Wagon, a super duper cool mounted cavalry archer unit with a decent amount of HP, pierce armor, and attack. Now, economically, Korean stone miners do work 20% faster than usual in order to aid with their tower production, and their villagers, once they get out on the map, do stay a little bit safer because they come with a little bit of extra line of sight. The Viper sees the base, immediately runs away from the spearmen. Speaking of the Viper, let's take a look at the Gurjaras. Pretty much a powerful counter civilization. If their opponents go archers, the Gurjaras can rely on their first unique unit, the Shravamsha Rider. This is a super fast cavalry unit that actually dodges enemy projectiles. If their opponents go infantry, then the Gurjaras can rely on their other unique unit, the Chakram Thrower, a ranged melee unit with an attack bonus against infantry that throws discs at its opponents that deal 100% pass-through damage. Now, if your opponent goes cavalry, well, not only do Gurjara camels and elephants train faster, not only can their camels and elephant archers be upgraded to get a massive boost to their melee armor, but all of their mounted units also deal extra bonus damage, progressively more and more bonus damage as the game goes on. I believe all the way up to 40% more in Imperial, which means their camels are some of the toughest in the world for cavalry to deal with. Now, economically, the Gurjaras do start the game with, as we saw in the beginning, 2 free bushes underneath the town center. It looks like, by the way, Mr. Yo is racking up a good number of kills here in the forward position as the Viper gets his wall off, but Mr. Yo just pivots immediately north. As I mentioned, they do start the game with free 2 bushes underneath their town centers. They can garrison their livestock in their mill, which auto-generates food for them, and they can upgrade their entire military-industrial complex so that all of their military units, each and every one, does cost less food. Let's take a look, by the way, see if the Viper has actually garrisoned any animals in the mill. For now, just 3 goats. And so you'll see at the top right of your screen, 28 food becomes 29, 29 becomes 30, and little by little, the more animals you garrison inside, obviously, the more food you produce. Up and up and up, and not a bad time for us as Mr. Yo, resting on his 3 kills, begins circling the forward position of the Viper's base. A few interesting things about Sandrift. Everyone, as you can see, starts in a depression, a little crater that is a certain color, a certain pale kind of sandy color, which you'll see this dry riverbed in the middle of the map is the exact same color. Why are they this color? Because you can't build anything at all on these patches of land, which means the entire center cannot be built upon. If you want to build anything aggressive, you have to go really aggressive and build it on your opponent's side of the map. Now, once you do get over to your opponent's side of the map, there's a lot of this cracked terrain. The way this specific tile works is that if the center point of any building touches cracked terrain, for example, this house, which not only the center point, but the entire house is on cracked terrain, if it gets attacked, takes 20% more damage, and so very, very shaky. So this map either forces you to be very, very defensive by placing structures in certain areas, or at least risking that your structures can be taken down quickly, or be very aggressive, as again, you cannot build anything in the middle of the map. There is no middle of the road in Sandrift. You really have to put on the pressure if you want to be the one putting on the pressure. For now, though, speaking of pressure, the Viper is walling himself completely in. Both players are still in the Feudal Age, although it looks like our Korean is heading up to Castle. And the Viper's archers are on the high ground, which means they will do a little bit of extra damage. And now Mr. Yo's archers are on the high ground. So the players exchanging a little bit of arrow fire, nothing too crazy. 8-7 kills to 2. Skirmisher pops out. I was going to say right at the wrong time, but I guess that right at the right time, Viper loses another archer unit, and look at how long it takes for archers to kill a freaking skirmisher. All of that pierce armor is just ridiculous. Mr. might want to get move one tile just a little south, get off of that low ground. Oh, and the last thing, for civilizations like perhaps the Goths and the Mongols, you'll see there's a lot of huntables, a lot of zebras, pushables, whatever you want to call them, lining the outer rim of that desolate riverbed. By the way, the Viper can take some of these neutral goats and send them into his mill, because like I said, the more you have inside the mill, the more food you auto-generate. But our Gurjara is going heavy on the foot archers right now. Okay, in Castle Age, I guess their archer line is not terrible. It's really in Imperial Age that the Gurjara archer line, some of the, what's the expression? Some of the shine wears off. They don't get arbalesters. They don't get the third armor upgrade. And so in Castle, it's a perfectly serviceable archer unit, but it also looks like he is transitioning to some kind of mounted unit as well. Monsieur being really annoying with this skirmisher. The Viper saying, you know what, I know I can kill you with my villagers. You only have 3 HP left, but let's let you have a good time. It's like, you know, when you see a little kid at a party running amok at a Chuck E. Cheese, and you're like, you know what, I can go up to that kid and discipline them. I can go slap him around a little bit. I guess it's not the 1950s. You can't really slap any kids anymore. I don't know how I went down this tangent, but instead you just say, let him have his fun time, and I'll bring my friends with their bows and arrows afterwards when he's in the parking lot, and then I'll do to him what the Viper is about to do to this one poor bastard who has no clue of what's coming. Now he does. Okay, he's wedged himself into a death nook, and a death nook it is for him as the Viper evens up the kill count. Okay, it is now 9-9. Monsieur being very annoying. Both players in Castle, not a bad time for us. Oh, we've got Trevamshas out. The way their dodge mechanic works is the base model dodges 5 arrows. The elite dodges 7. Now in exchange, of course, their HP is not exactly the strongest, so taking on a spearman is probably not advisable here for the Viper. Okay, who takes enough damage to weaken the spearman, runs away, and then comes in with a fresh Trevamsha. And also, their attack is not the greatest. 8 base attack, but look at that speed. 1.6 tiles per second, and that is, by the way, before husbandry. That is a camel speed before husbandry. And Mr. Yo with the defensive castle. Oh, I really don't like when players build castles on cracked terrain. Has pumped out 4 of the coolest cavalry archers. Some of the coolest cavalry archers in the game. Remember, for all that this is a big wagon that shoots ballista bolts and isn't enclosed like some fancy schmancy aristocrat in medieval England or whatnot, it is still basically a cavalry archer. Decent attack, decent HP, crazy armor, makes it basically invincible against these crossbows. I don't know. The Viper probably is not going to invest in any more crossbows. Trevamshas are not a bad idea, though. Especially since, again, the beautiful unit in front of us is still just, like I said, a glorified boxed-in cav archer. What's the attack speed, by the way? Okay, there you go. That's the... There's never anything that's 100% perfect or 100% terrible in this game. So what you... On the one hand, you get the extra HP, one of the highest archer attacks in the game, if not the highest, actually, base attack of a 9. And crazy pierce armor of a base of a 3. We've got elephant archers out. The developers also take it by giving it a bit of a slower movement speed and a slower attack. In comes a Trevamsha. You'll see he took a few bolts to the face, but they did not do the full damage. At least not the first 5. And now the elephant archers are enough. Although I suspect it's probably not the elephant archers. I suspect it's this little old bald man with a book and a crook who is slowly waddling his way across the desert in his sandals. It looks like a whole bunch of war wagons have died here. Trevamsha is just an absolute beast of a run-by unit, by the way, to raid the rear of an opponent's base, for example. Because, again, these 4, once those bars underneath them... Let's actually take a look at an individual one. So the white bar underneath, just like, you know, when the Romans got comitatenses, and you look at a legionary, or you look at their cavalier or centurion, you'll see a white bar underneath. The Urumi swordsman, the Custilier, This is not a charge attack. This is just the arrow dodgeability of the unit. So all 4 of those could really rush in to that southern castle. Take 1 volley, 2 volley, 3 volley, assuming any of the volleys even land. Although the Viper does have, Mysterio does have ballistics. They can enter the back of the base pretty damn hail. And yet again, Mr. Yo is taking a battle on the low ground. He pulls with 1 war wagon, a whole bunch of units out of position, but the Shravamtras are here. No attack upgrades, 1 armor upgrade only. Okay. The slower firing rate is really makes this battle a very quiet, hushed battle. Not a lot of action, especially as I should say not a lot of sound action, especially as the Viper pulls back his Shravamtras. Oh, you can dodge 5, you cannot dodge 12. And look at that, Mr. Yo is getting his relics on his side of the riverbed, taken by the Viper, who loses a monk up here, so we'll see. Ultimately, who has the better relic generation? Decent sized battle here inside this dry riverbed. I see some yellow dots to the right. I see some blue dots to the left, reinforcing. The Viper's army is just about as cool as you can get it. We've got crossbows, we've got elephant archers, we've got Shravamtras. Man, are the Gurjaras a super fun civilization to watch and cast. They're like the Incas. You really don't know what you're gonna see, and the ability to hold is just so diverse. They have so many options. But let's see if, unlike what people think is the biggest... Oh, F you to that one zebra in particular, says Mr. Yo. People claim that the Incas have trouble pushing out. I personally am kind of 50-50 on that theory. Let's see if the Gurjaras suffer from the same fate. I suspect not, simply because they have a stable. And so any of the civilizations with a stable, which is basically 42 out of the 45, although with redemption, I should say potentially 44 out of 45, shouldn't have any problem pushing out onto the map. By the way, relic count 2-1 in favor of Mr. Yo. I'm not sure there are 5 relics in this map. I see this one down here, but I don't see any other ones. And so either there's a monk returning to the monastery with a relic somewhere, or there are just 4 relics in this map. Let's take a look at the economies as the Viper kind of but not really chases this into this army. He is housed at 105, and I see him just now building houses. Oh no, with 1 villager, with 2 villagers, that's a long time to be housed. The Viper, is he going to notice the castle? No, because Mr. Yo is blocking his own construction site with all of these wagons, and now the Viper is retreating. Oh, now the Viper is blocking the construction site with a couple of converted war wagons. How did the Viper know to place a castle here? Oh, he must have seen the villagers moving forward, right? So he knows that there is a castle drop. I love that both players are avoiding cracked terrain. Shravamtra's closing yet again. Crossbow numbers have been reduced to 14. I love that Mr. Yo doesn't give a shit about these crossbows. He is not targeting them down. He's not focusing them down. He knows their pathetic 7 attack against his 5 armor is going to add little to no value to the Viper's army. And so he's focusing on the, albeit weaker compared to other cavalry units, but potentially very deadly Shravamtra Rider, who, by the way, now has forging. And so with only 2 armor, could potentially pose a very big threat here. Mr. Yo sticks around a little bit too long, but not the end of the world, since the Viper's entire army, non-crossbow army, just got absolutely wrecked here. No more elephants, no more Shravamtras. Finally, he's getting husbandry. I hope we get to see Shravamtras just so we can see how ridiculously fast they move. And Kshatriyas, the upgrade I mentioned earlier, that now all Gurjara units, military units, are going to cost 25% less food. And by the way, if you're playing as the Gurjaras, much like the Bulgarians who play Conics need stirrups, the Gurjaras, if you're playing Shravamtras, you absolutely need Kshatriyas. The Shravamtra Rider costs 70 food. 70 food. Errant Monk gets caught out here. Relics are still 2-1, so I guess this map just has 4 relics. Unless there's something I'm missing on the minimap somebody can notice, but I suspect I'm not. Although who among us doesn't suspect that everything they do is right? Be a cold day in hell before I admit I'm wrong. That reminds me of the the scene from The Office when Stanley is talking about how he's stubborn and prideful, and he's like, I told my second or third wife that I'm never wrong, and I told my first wife and my second wife. It's something like that. I forget exactly what the quote is. The point is he's gotten divorced multiple times because he refuses to admit he's wrong. Elephants do a little bit of damage to the castle to the top left of our screen, but then get shooed away by pikemen, who themselves get absolutely wrecked by a castle full of crossbows to the south. The Viper continues feeding units into these war wagons. Again, this is 1,400 HP of war wagon. You can't send 2 or 3 units at a time. That's just not going to work. They can dodge 20 arrows. It's still not going to work. And here we go. The elephants back away. The battering rams back away. These guys are very clumped. They're down to 1,100 HP. But why are they attacking a freaking lumber camp that is not even being used when there are literally villagers right here and you're right next to the stable? So the Viper's going to just pop out military units immediately. I am really starting to like Empire Wars. I think I said this during the live streams of Rage Force 5. By the way, if you're not familiar, every Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'm not too sure what that is, GMT, maybe midnight or 1 a.m. Saturday GMT, we do have a live stream of Rage Forest ranked ladder. Elephants pop out. They go straight for the rams. I believe they have a decent attack bonus against siege. Plus 33 is actually more than decent. And remember, the Gurjaras are in Castle Age, so that 33 is not really 33. It is 30% higher right now than it would be for any other armored elephant. But as I was about to say before I distracted myself multiple times, join us for our live streams. We are a friendly bunch. We talk about the game, we talk about food, we talk about life and Nicolas Cage, gambling and traveling. I think it's a pretty chill stream. Elephants are slowly going to get taken out here, but the Mr. Yo might have been a little bit too lazy and slow to pull his villagers. They come in right at the right as the castle falls and right as the elephant falls. Mr. Yo waited a bit too long and loses the castle on the other side of the map. And like I said, there's nothing in the middle of the map. So right now he has 2 choices: either rebuild it aggressively or fall back and play defensively. And he is instead going after the zebras, which he earlier was laming. So Mr. Yo says, joke's on me. Now I actually need that zebra meat. He is ahead 6 villagers. He's ahead 4.5 times the army count compared to the Viper, who is again inexplicably sending individual units to their deaths. Oh, sorry. I think my microphone, I think I hit my microphone. You may have just heard a little bit of a click. It looks like the Viper, by the way, securing his southern border, perhaps expecting some kind of run by the Koreans. Not exactly very run-by-ish civilization. They don't really get bloodlines, and so they're light cavalry units. They're hussars. They're not exactly, you know, the best designed for rear-end attacks. I think they're also missing, yeah, the last armor upgrade for the cavalry. I'm not too sure why G-Force Experience in-game overlay, okay, thank you so much, decided to appear right there and then. And the Viper takes that second relic that was in the riverbed, so now relic counts are equal. Mr. Yo has had his for a bit longer. And there's that Gurjara camel. Well, there was that Gurjara camel. As he's dead, he got one more. Where are you? So look at all of the bonuses. For any normal camel, the attack bonus, for example, against cavalry is a +9. But because the Gurjara is in Castle Age, it is 30% higher. 30% is 2.7. Rounded up, 11.7 becomes 12. And by the way, speaking of rounding up, our Korean is going up to Imperial right as he begins pressing in here. The Viper has lost control of his relics. Where are Mr. Yo's monks? He doesn't have a single monk. Usually his army is accompanied by monks, but because he's gone beautiful war wagon, he has not brought any monks forward. And who can blame him? By the way, look at the movement speed of a Shravamsha rider. 1.76 tiles per second. I think that makes it the second fastest, or maybe even the fastest. A Cuman scout in Imperial moving at 15% faster might be faster than the Shravamsha, but not by much. It's like 1.74 to 1.76 or 1.78. Viper engages in a choke point against pikemen, which are getting gunned down by skirmishers, so he can make room for his Shravamshas to close in. What an absolute bloody mess of a bloody battle. Mysterio still doesn't have any monks to take these relics, which is inexplicable. I see his on the minimap, the castle is going back up at the exact same location it went down in, to finish that sentence. But you know what? Eventually, I told the Viper, even though this game was played days ago and he has no way of hearing me, don't send 2 or 3 units against 1400 HP. You heard me loud and clear. Now he's sending skirmishers, which, by the way, have double bonuses against these cavalry archers. This is both an archer unit and a cavalry archer. Now to make, it's also, I guess, a cavalry unit, which makes the camels particularly problematic as well. But much like certain units that are perhaps just a little bit too powerful, if you take a look, cavalry archer is actually -1. And so this attack bonus that a skirmisher has against cavalry archer 2 actually becomes 3 HP reduced. So 3 HP and then archer +4, so 7 bonus damage. Even though really it is total of a 7 damage, I believe, because this unit has 7 armor against a 5 attack. So that does 0 damage and then the bonus kicks in. So 7 bonus damage, 7 HP reduced from a 150 HP unit is 22 volleys, 22 skirmishers to one shot. The Viper almost has enough to kill 2 war wagons at a time if he focuses 22 and 22. But Mysterio is now also roiding up his war wagons. They now attack on a 12. And in 50 seconds, they're going to be elite. But the Viper is getting his chunky boys in order. He's going to pop him into the castle, pop him out on the left like we saw MBL in one of my shorts recently. Looks like a whole bunch of Shravamshas died doing the last thing they should be doing, which is taking on the halberdier line, spearman line, pikeman units, as Mysterio disperses his pikemen like a fart in a room. Some going left, some going right, some going up. And now the Viper switched to light cavalry. I believe the cheapest light cavalry in the game with Kshatriyas and that 25% discount. I don't think any other civilization has something comparable to a 25% discount. The Viper, by the way, is still in Castle Age, even though we saw Mysterio going up, and Mysterio loses the castle yet again. Has Viper taken back his relics? Certainly looks like it. Ooh, they're going after the trebuchet very, very, very slowly. The Viper's going to start clearing out some infrastructure. Pikemen are going to do decent against these armored elephants. Not exactly going to kill them, but not terrible as well. And now the Viper sees Mysterio taking gold on his side of the map. Oh no, oh no. Oh, it waddles away. Movement speed is so ridiculously slow. But why did the Mysterio stop? Why did Mysterio stop? One more poke and he should get it. But the villagers are moving into repair. Are they going to be a little bit too slow just like last time? No. The elephant bites the dust and that Treb is saved with a massive 16 HP. And in comes some light cavalry units. I mean, kudos to Mysterio for continuing the meme build of basically just war wagons. Now elite. Now look at the stats. 200 HP, 13 attack, and 8 pierce armor. You've got an Eagle Warrior's pierce armor. You've got basically a Chukanu's attack minus the extra arrows with the 14 attack upgrade. And you've got the HP of a Frankish Paladin. This is a pretty bonkers unit, to be fair. Attack speed reduced a little tiny bit to 2.25 second delay. But now the Viper is going to try to do some rear run bys. Yeah, the forest here is gone. And so the back of Mysterio's base is completely open. More Shravamshas. More light cav. So the Viper is going to channel his inner Hera and try to do a bunch of multi-pronged raiding attacks. Villagers to the front, villagers to the rear, wherever you can find them. He is a minute and a half away from Imperial. A few peel off to go left after the Treb. The Mangonel dies as well. But Mysterio, using his Imperial Age advantage, pumps out a whole bunch of Spearman line units. 30 halberdiers. And this is the worst thing for the Viper to do. You can dodge arrows, said these glorified pikemen, but you will not dodge my halberd, as they shove it right into the face of that Shravamsha rider. Looks like only one died after that. I thought the Viper was going to lose 6 or 7 of his units there. Oh no, Mr. Yo gets his castle caught out as he builds it right on the edge opposite the Vipers on the southeast bank of that river. So the Viper with the more numerous army, 72 to 43. Mysterio with the better army of halberdiers and elite war wagons. Who's kidding who? This is really the backbone of his army right now, and he is training 8 at a time out of 2 castles. But the Vipers in Imperial, immediately Bracer, immediately Conscription, immediately Chemistry. So he is going to continue with the skirmishers. Will we see Hussars? Will we see elite Shravamshas? Castle has been stymied just for now. I don't see any more villagers being brought forward, so Mr. Yo, playing it very cool and calm and conservative, wants to clear that out. But now the Korean light cavalry is here, choosing this moment to get a handcart, which the Viper has had for a long time. And now the Viper is raiding over here. He's raiding over here. The frontal attack is still ongoing. Are you bringing villagers to finish the castle? Looks like he is bringing villagers. Where are they coming from? What resources are you? Timber. So they are lumberjacks that he is bringing forward. Doesn't really need lumberjacks at the moment. He's got 2,800 wood. He's got more wood than the Viper has total resources. It looks like the Viper is slowly being cleared up. As the Viper slowly clears up Mr. Yo's eyeballs on the map. Get out of the riverbed. Get to the high ground. Castle will go up, but a big old treble thud is heard from the south bank of the river. Interesting, by the way. Oh, damn you, Zebra, man. These players are very much taking out their need for APM on the wildlife in this map. Even though Mr. Yo's been in Imperial for the longest of times, no trebs for him. He's going Bombard Cannon now. Why this particular Zebra and not these other two? Explain that one to me. I once made a joke about, I think it was MBL who was killing zebras. By the way, Camel Rider, look at the attack bonus now. From 9. And it's now 13. So it went from 9 to 12 to 13. And now we've got Hussars for the Viper. Missio needs to see the Hussars. He sees them. That's step 1. Step 2, close your freaking base. There we go. Close it up immediately. The last thing you need is a whole bunch of Hussars, but these Hussars are... they're entering a meat grinder here, and holy moly, the Viper just lost a whole bunch of units. Does he actually carry? He's training 23 at a time. He's getting thumb ring right now for these skirmishers. He is at full population 200, as is Mr. Yo, by the way, who still has 4,000 HP. 4,000 HP of War Wagon here, and now he's getting Eopseong. So we're gonna get to see some towers out of our Korean, and that basically upgrade. Oh my goodness, that upgrade. Oh my god, why are you attacking the zebras? You're under attack from skirmishers. Eopseong will add extra range to these towers, so now they are at a maxed out 13 freaking range. Look at this range. Think Crenellation castles for the Teuton. You know what outranges them, though, is a big, juicy Trebuchet. Looks like the Viper is still raiding the rear of Mr. Yo's base. He's gotten up to 61 villager kills. But Mr. Yo doesn't care. He's just pivoting his villagers forward. Creating a farming community here. Says, you know what? My army is here. You're not really going to do too much damage. And remember how I said the Koreans, their infantry units also cost less wood. Well, this is the only infantry unit that ever costs wood, and so their halberdiers are cheaper. And oh no, now he's entering in 9 very damaged Hussars. The halbs are slowly taking care of business here. The Viper is eventually going to whittle down the HP of these war wagons. That's not that's a certainty. That's not a possibility. Damn you, mining camp, said these two non-Hindustani camels that don't attack faster and don't come within a building attack bonus. So Mr. Yo's got to be a little bit careful here. 50 minutes in, he's ahead double the army count. But again, he needs to wall off his base. He's down now about 10 villagers, which is not the end of the world, 116 to 126. So not exactly the end of the world, but the Viper's just going to channel, like I said, his inner Hera, and he's going to start running by with these ridiculously fast units. I mean, we think a Hussar 1.65 tiles per second is fast. The frickin' Shrevamsha is just, oh my goodness. Just an absolute roadrunner of a unit. We got a couple of friends in the buddy system here moving forward. Mysterio has re-walled this in. He's got 99 stone, and he is also getting the Hussar upgrade right now. He's got 59 villagers on food to the 62 of the Viper, so should be able to start pumping out good quantities. How many stables does our Korean actually have, though? 4 to the Gurjara, 9. Although it looks like 2 of them are under construction. No, not under construction, just about to fall. 100 HP left. So now the Viper is here to the south, getting cleared up by these war wagons to the north. He's raiding with Shrevamshas. Are they elite? Yes, they are. So their 8 base attack now jumps up to an 11. And their HP jumps up to a massive 90, which actually does make them pretty comparable with normal Hussars. Unfortunately for our Korean, his Hussars, like I said, don't get bloodlines. Where are they? I really do want to click. Oh, they're taking out a Treb up here. So they're stuck at 75 HP. Basic Shrevamsha Rider HP. Mysterio pivots his big old juicy Cav Archer army to the center here. But he is now being raided to Kingdom Come. He's also, oh my goodness. The Viper, expecting villagers, finds nothing but dead space here. The villagers are already inside their town center, but that is horrible. Mysterio is idling 2. Okay, never mind. Only 3 villagers. I got very concerned and very excited at the same time. There must be some German word for being very concerned and very excited. It's not exactly Schadenfreude, because it's not really related to somebody else's misery, but just feeling very concerned and very excited at the same time. There must be a word. By the way, there must be a word for 59 freaking Korean halberdiers here. They are missing Blast Furnace, but they're just here to be bodies on the dance floor. They are just here to die. Although, die for a reason, not just shoving them into a bunch of skirmishers. Halberdiers are going to try to take down these Shrevamshas. They will fail. The Shrevamshas just way too fast. Attack speed 1.9. So basically like a Hussar, right? I think Hussars are 1.9 or 1.8. Yeah, 1.9. So the attack speed is the exact same, and it attacks on an 11 base compared to a 7 base. That being said, Hussars, of course, cost no gold whatsoever. Whereas the Shrevamsha Rider, still as cheap as the food cost is now, with Kshatriyas, this does still cost 30 gold. And here we go. Now he's finally using them as a meat shield, but they're for a second as the Cav Archers retreat yet again. The Viper's in the center. The Viper's attacking an empty town center. The Viper's taking down a mill that was used to get the food on his side. And now your 13 range again means nothing against these trebuchets. Mysterio needs to get some kind of army, some kind of response here to this long distance bombardment that he's experiencing. Army counts almost identical, 58 to 67, but Mysterio's villager count has just absolutely been slaughtered. He's down 41 villagers. 10, not a big deal. 41, kind of a big deal. Especially if you've decided you want to keep going war wagons, although doesn't really have the resources to keep pumping those out in huge quantities. He does have an opportunity. The Viper is focusing on a mill here. The bombard cannons have been secured to the back. A villager is repairing, but it is all too much for Mysterio. He's going to take this fight, but oh, again, like I said, once you saw those Hussars about 15 or 10 minutes ago, whenever it was, in-game minutes, step number 1 is this. You need to secure base. It's like when you're playing a Mezzo Sib. This is just way too open. Because in the beginning, you know, when you have a castle up in early to mid castle age, it's a huge deterrent. Because you know your opponent's not going to send 30 units in or 10 units in. He's going to send 2 or 3 here, raiding over here. And what he does have 10 of is going to be crossbows and skirmishers. He's not going to have 10 knights right at the beginning of castle age. Whereas now at this stage of the game, this kind of opening is not going to be a deterrent at all to a group of 10 Shrevamshas or 10 Hussars fully armored, by the way, with 6 pierce armor. Mr. Yo, by the way, also brought his bombard cannons forward, and they look like they are about to get got as the... Oh, no, yeah, he still has his 10, but these flaming javelins are about to reduce that count very much to 9. Even though he is on the low ground, doesn't really matter at this point. The quantity is just not there for Mr. Yo anymore, and the Viper's at 200 population. Mr. Yo suffering all those villager kills is at 113. Look at the bottom right of your screen, 152 villager kills to 23. Mr. Yo was doing so well with his big mobile war wagon army in the middle of this game, let's say beginning to middle of this game, and then he just gave the Viper way too much space. And look at the map. Look at the Viper's side of the map. Holy moly, it's box art. 14 stables now to your 6. I mean, you do still have 9 barracks, and you have enough wood and food to train a whole bunch of halberdiers, but now you have no way of dealing with the skirmishers. Any kind of ranged attempt to deal with these will be met with fiery balls from both the BBCs and the Trebs. And so Mr. Yo just raided way too much. 152 villager kills, and what a game. He does end up getting more kills on the whole, 689 to 577. Holy moly, 1,200 kills in a 57-minute game. This is a thank you Empire Wars mode, I guess. Halberdier to Hussar. I think on the whole, who wins this battle one-on-one? 50 fewer halberdiers, but with a 32 attack bonus against these Hussars. I don't know who actually wins this. Somebody, maybe Mike Empires will do a video with 224 halbs against 275 Hussars. 145 war wagons, 147 Shrevamshas. But you can just look at the numbers and see why the Viper overwhelmed his opponent. 224 to 275, 233 to 145, and 147 to 65. So the Viper just had more stuff. PKPM right at the beginning of the game, 6 minutes in. What a topsy-turvy world. Usually it's Mr. Yo who has the PKPM right at the beginning of the game, and it's the Viper whose PKPM is towards the end with all the battles. Let's take a look at the stats. Looks like Relic Gold not really playing a role, and the economy is not terrible, only about 10% apart. Looks like wood and gold. Well, there's your there's your war wagon, and food and stone. Well, there's your Hussar rate at the end, and the Shrevamshas and all that. So the economies for the Viper bigger, but not that big of a difference. There's a huge dip in blue here, and that is the just endless rating. Look at the blue line just dropping. And that is just 150 plus dead villagers. Conversions not playing really a role. Raisings, the Viper at the end, 26. I think the reality of the situation is very simple. Mr. Yo had a lot of momentum early to mid game, and then spent time attacking a lumber camp. I believe it was like right here, which gave the Viper an opportunity to just expand and gobble up. And we've seen what happens in games when the Viper just gobbles up the entire map, and then the resources, more importantly, on that map. And he just absolutely is able to overwhelm. He creates basically the perfect counter army, and Mr. Yo just is not walled in. Like I said, when you're playing against the Meso Civs and you're in Imperial Age, if you're not walled in, you're gonna knock who's there, the Eagle Inquisition, just like when you're playing against a Hussar civilization. So good job for Mr. Yo to walling off to the south. This, like I said, is not a deterrent at all in Imperial Age to fully upgraded Hussars, especially not to elite Shrevamsha riders, who, by the way, dodge 7 projectiles instead of 5. And this is completely open here to the north. Now, the saving grace for Mr. Yo is that he's got literally nothing in the rear, except maybe 10 villagers here. But ultimately, what a ridiculously fun game. I'm glad we got to see the war wagons. I'm glad we got to see the push. I'm glad we got to see a castle rebuilt in the exact same position. Very stubborn and dogged was Mr. Yo, but ultimately it is the Gurjaras spam at the end of the game, the multi-pronged villager slaughtering that gets 152 villager kills for our Gurjara, that cripples the Korean economy. And the Korean could have expanded a little bit more further south to get a bit more wood. Maybe he doesn't need to. Actually, yeah, he does need to. This is about to run out, and this is very exposed. And the more you jack this wood, the more exposed your base is with all these whole openings. And ultimately, the Viper just holds against Mr. Yo's aggression, returns the favor, and shows up with 61 army count, a couple of bombard cannons, a Treb, Shrevamshas, Hussars, all of the good stuff of the Gurjaras. Takes the W, but GG in a really fun game to both players. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips and make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you're notified of my latest uploads.